First contact. The descent through Lyria's atmosphere painted the shuttle windows with streaks of violet and indigo. Elias Chen pressed his palm against the cool glass, watching as the alien landscape materialized below, crystal formations rising like frozen waterfalls among lush purple vegetation. "Final approach to Arathi Central," announced the pilot. "Ambassador, you might want to review your greeting protocols." Elias nodded, though his attention remained fixed on the view. After 15 years in diplomatic service, this was his first solo mission of galactic importance. Earth's dwindling helium reserves meant the Lyrian trade agreement wasn't just desirable, it was essential. Remember, his superior had warned before departure, the Lyrians value emotional honesty above all else. Their empathic abilities make deception nearly impossible. The shuttle touched down with barely a tremor. Elias straightened his midnight blue diplomatic uniform and took a steadying breath. The doors slid open, releasing a rush of sweet, spice-scented air. A delegation waited on the landing platform, tall, slender figures with skin in various shades of lavender and violet. Their eyes were large and luminous, set in faces that seemed almost human, yet undeniably alien. But it was the figure at the center who commanded Elias's attention. Princess Vera stood slightly taller than her companions, her skin a deep, rich purple that shimmered with subtle iridescence in the golden sunlight. Unlike the others, whose expressions remained carefully neutral, her lips curved into a genuine smile that reached her silver-flecked eyes. "Ambassador Chen," she spoke, her voice melodic yet strong. "Welcome to Lyria. I trust your journey was comfortable." Elias performed the traditional Lyrian greeting, right hand over heart, slight bow from the shoulders. "Most comfortable, Your Highness. Thank you for this personal welcome." "The treaty between our worlds deserves proper attention," she replied, gesturing toward the gleaming spires of the capital. "I've arranged a tour before tomorrow's formal negotiations begin." As they walked, Elias noticed how other Lyrians seemed to defer to her with a mixture of reverence and genuine affection. Unlike the diplomatic performances he was accustomed to on Earth, there was something refreshingly authentic in their interactions. "You're observant," Vera commented, catching his gaze. "That's valuable in a diplomat." "Observation without understanding has limited value," Elias replied honestly. Her smile widened. "Then I shall help you understand. For instance, you might wonder why I'm conducting these negotiations rather than my mother, the Queen." The question had crossed my mind. "My mother believes that those who will inherit the future should shape it. I will rule Lyria someday, just as your children will inherit Earth." Elias felt a strange flutter in his chest at her directness. "I have no children, Your Highness." "No? Then you shape Earth's future through your actions alone." Her eyes seemed to look beyond his diplomatic facade. An interesting responsibility. That evening, as twilight transformed the crystalline city into a sea of refracted light, Elias stood on his suite's balcony, replaying their conversation. Something about Princess Vera's presence made his carefully constructed diplomatic walls feel suddenly transparent. He wondered if she had sensed his momentary discomfort, or worse, the unexpected attraction he'd felt in her presence. Tomorrow's negotiations suddenly seemed far more complicated than resource allocations and trade agreements. What he didn't realize was that several towers away, Princess Vera stood on her own balcony, thinking precisely the same thing. Silent signals. Dawn broke over Arathi Central, bathing the crystal architecture in rose-gold light. Elias prepared methodically for the negotiations, reviewing Earth's proposals one final time. The stakes were too high for distraction, yet his thoughts kept drifting to Princess Vera's perceptive gaze. The Grand Council chamber was a marvel of Lyrian design, a dome of transparent crystal that revealed the sky above, while acoustics carried even whispered words to every corner. The Lyrian delegates arranged themselves in a crescent, with Princess Vera at the center position. "Ambassador Chen," she began, "before we discuss terms, tradition requires participation in the ritual of intent. This allows all parties to sense the genuine desire for mutual benefit." Elias nodded, though uncertainty flickered through him. "I'm honored to participate, though I lack your empathic abilities." "The ritual equalizes such differences," Vera explained, rising gracefully. "Please join me in the center." The chamber fell silent as Elias stepped forward. Vera extended her hands, palms upward, her fingers long and elegant, with perfectly formed nails that shimmered like mother-of-pearl. "Place your hands above mine, not touching," she instructed softly. As Elias positioned his hands, he felt a subtle vibration in the air between them. Vera's eyes closed in concentration, and suddenly the space between their palms glowed with faint purple light. "The energy of intention," she murmured. "Now speak your purpose here." "I come seeking an agreement that will benefit both our worlds," Elias stated, surprised by the emotional resonance in his voice. "Earth needs resources, but we offer technology and alliance in return." The purple light intensified, swirling between them like liquid starlight. Several Lyrian counselors gasped. Vera's eyes opened wide. "Your intention is pure," she announced, though something in her expression suggested surprise. "But there is more." The ritual was interrupted by a thunderous crack. The crystal dome above splintered, sending fragments raining down. Without thinking, Elias pulled Vera away from the falling shards, shielding her with his body. In the chaos that followed, their hands remained clasped together. The touch, their first physical contact, sent an electric current through Elias that had nothing to do with the ritual energy. "Are you hurt?" he asked urgently. "No, thanks to your quick action," she replied, her voice uncharacteristically breathless. "You risked yourself for me." "Instinct," Elias explained, though both knew it was more. Later, as emergency teams secured the damaged chamber, investigations revealed structural weakness in the ancient crystal, not sabotage as initially feared. The negotiations relocated to a smaller council room, but something fundamental had shifted. Throughout the discussions, Elias found Vera's gaze meeting his with new understanding. When she proposed modifications to Earth's trade terms, they were surprisingly favorable. When he suggested cultural exchange programs alongside resource shipments, she supported him immediately. By evening, they had accomplished more than expected, drafting preliminary agreements that satisfied both parties. As the council adjourned, Vera approached Elias privately. "Would you walk with me in the Moonbloom Gardens?" she asked. "There are aspects of Lyrian culture that might help contextualize our agreements." The gardens proved magical, flowers that opened only at twilight, releasing luminescent pollen into the air. As they walked among the glowing blooms, conversation flowed from diplomacy to personal philosophy. "The ritual today," Elias ventured finally. "You seemed surprised by what you sensed." Vera's steps slowed. "I was. Most diplomats project determination, ambition, sometimes even deception. You projected compassion. Even before you protected me, I felt your genuine concern for both our peoples. And that's unusual?" "It's precious," she answered simply, her fingers briefly brushing against his in the gathering darkness. Whispers of opposition. The communication terminal in Elias's quarters chimed insistently before sunrise. Director Harlow's face appeared on screen, her expression severe. "We've reviewed your preliminary agreement, Ambassador Chen," she stated without preamble. "The terms are exceptionally favorable to Earth." "That's good news, isn't it?" Elias asked cautiously. "Too good. Intelligence suggests Princess Vera rarely grants such concessions." "Your report mentioned physical contact during some ritual?" Elias felt a defensive heat rise in his chest. "There was an accident. I acted to protect a diplomatic counterpart. Remember your primary directive, Ambassador. Earth needs this agreement. Personal entanglements cloud judgment." After the call ended, Elias stood motionless, staring at his reflection in the window. Was Director Harlow right? Had his growing feelings for Vera influenced his negotiating position? Across the city, Princess Vera faced similar scrutiny. Elder Counselor Nix, her mother's most trusted advisor, paced the royal chambers with obvious agitation. "The human's influence on you is concerning," Nix stated bluntly, her aged, purple skin furrowed with worry. "I've observed your energy signatures during council sessions. There is attachment forming." "I'm perfectly capable of separating personal interest from state matters," Vera countered. "Are you?" Nix challenged. "Humans are notoriously skilled at manipulation. Their lack of empathic ability makes their intentions perpetually questionable." "Ambassador Chen is different," So different you've granted unprecedented access to our helium reserves. Nix's silver eyes narrowed. The royal bloodline has maintained our society's empathic purity for millennia. A human cannot understand our ways, our responsibilities. Perhaps understanding is precisely what both our worlds need, Vera replied softly. The day's negotiations proceeded with new tension. Elias noticed the elder counselors watching him with undisguised suspicion. Vera maintained professional distance, though occasionally their eyes would meet, conveying unspoken understanding. During an afternoon recess, Elias found himself cornered by Counselor Nix in a deserted corridor. "Ambassador," she addressed him coldly, "I'll speak plainly. Your influence on Princess Vera endangers the balance of our society. With respect, Counselor, our discussions have been entirely professional. Words lie. Energy doesn't." Nix stepped closer, her ancient eyes piercing. "She is heir to abilities you cannot comprehend. The harmony between ruler and people relies on empathic resonance untainted by foreign emotions." Before Elias could respond, Vera's voice cut through the tension. "Counselor Nix, the session is resuming." That evening, a formal reception celebrated the progressing negotiations. Elias arrived to find the Lyrian court in full regalia, with Vera at its center. She wore a flowing gown that seemed woven from twilight itself, and though she performed her royal duties flawlessly, her eyes continually found his across the crowded hall. When protocol finally permitted them a moment alone on a secluded balcony, words initially failed them both. "Your director Harlow contacted our communications center directly," Vera finally said. "She seems concerned about your objectivity." "And Counselor Nix seems concerned about yours," Elias replied with a wry smile. "They fear what they don't understand." Vera's hand rested on the balcony rail, inches from his own. "The question is whether their fears are justified." Elias considered his diplomatic training, Earth's desperation, and Director Harlow's warnings. Then he looked at Vera, this remarkable being whose presence had somehow become essential to him in mere days. "I know my duty," he said carefully, "but I also know what I feel, and it's not something I can simply ignore for political convenience." Vera's fingers moved slowly until they touched his. "Then we have another negotiation ahead, perhaps the most important one of all." Behind them, unnoticed in the shadows, Counselor Nix watched with growing alarm, her ancient mind already formulating plans to protect Lyria from what she perceived as a dangerous alliance. Eclipse of trust. The document room was eerily silent when Elias arrived for his morning review. He'd risen early, hoping to finalize some technical details before the day's formal session. Something felt wrong the moment he entered. The air held an electrical tension, and the data terminals flickered irregularly. He approached the central console where the draft treaty was stored. The security seal appeared intact, but when he pressed his palm to the scanner, warning lights flashed red. "Unauthorized modification detected," announced the automated system. "Treaty document altered at 0247 local time." Elias's blood ran cold. He accessed the log and discovered that entire sections had been rewritten. Earth would receive only a fraction of the promised helium, while Lyria would gain access to restricted military technologies. Worse, the modifications appeared to have been made under his credentials. "Ambassador Chen." Princess Vera stood in the doorway, flanked by royal guards. Her expression was unreadable, her usual warmth concealed behind a mask of royal authority. "Explain this." "Your Highness, I just discovered these changes myself. I would never—" "The system logs show your biometric signature," she interrupted, her voice tight with control. "These altered terms would cripple our energy independence while giving Earth weapons capabilities in our sector." "Someone has framed me," Elias insisted, mind racing. "Why would I sabotage negotiations I've worked so hard to build?" "Perhaps your superiors deemed our original agreement too generous." Her silver-flecked eyes studied him with painful intensity. "Perhaps you were under orders all along." The accusation struck like a physical blow. "Vera, you know me. You've sensed my intentions." For an instant, uncertainty flickered across her features. Then Counselor Nix swept into the room, her ancient face twisted with vindication. "As I warned, Your Highness, humans cannot be trusted with matters of such importance." She turned to Elias. "Ambassador, you are confined to your quarters pending investigation. The High Queen herself will determine your fate." As guards escorted him away, Elias caught one last glimpse of Vyra's face. Behind the royal composure, he saw something that gave him hope, doubt. In his quarters, now a gilded prison, Elias paced relentlessly. Earth needed this treaty, but more importantly, he needed Vyra to believe in him. He'd never felt so powerless, so far from home. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The private communication panel, normally connected only to Earth, displayed an encrypted local message. The eclipse reveals truth hidden by light. Garden passage. Midnight. Hours later, heart pounding, Elias slipped through the secret door that had mysteriously unlocked at exactly midnight. The passage led him through forgotten corridors and finally emerged among the luminescent flowers of the Moonbloom Gardens. Vyra waited alone beside a pool of still water, her purple skin silvered by Lyria's 3 moons. She wore a simple robe rather than royal regalia, her long hair unbound. "You came," she said softly, "despite the risk. I would risk more to clear my name with you." She approached slowly. "I've spent hours in meditation, trying to reconcile what I sensed during our ritual with what the evidence suggests." "And your conclusion?" "That I need to trust my abilities over manufactured proof." Her hands rose hesitantly toward his face. "May I?" Elias nodded, understanding her intent. Vyra's cool fingers rested gently against his temples, and he felt the subtle vibration of her empathic power flowing between them. "Open your mind to me," she whispered. "Show me the truth no technology can falsify." The connection between them deepened, transcending physical sensation. In that profound intimacy, Elias held nothing back. His dedication to his mission, his growing feelings for her, his confusion and hurt at being accused. When Vyra finally withdrew her touch, tears shimmered in her eyes. "You were telling the truth," she said, "but this means someone deliberately sabotaged our alliance. Someone who has access to both the treaty document and my biometric data." Understanding dawned simultaneously between them. "Nyx," Vyra breathed. "She has access to the royal archives containing diplomat profiles." "She opposed our agreement from the beginning," Elias added. "But we need proof." "I know where to find it," Vyra said with newfound determination. "But first," she stepped closer, one hand rising to touch his cheek. "I need you to know that even before I searched your thoughts, I wanted to believe in you," the kiss they shared beneath the triple. Moons of Lyria sealed more than trust. Restored, it acknowledged the undeniable connection that had formed against all diplomatic protocol and interstellar odds. Harmony of worlds' morning light streamed through the great chamber's repaired crystal dome as the High Queen of Lyria presided over what many expected to be a treaty's dissolution. Instead, they witnessed its salvation. Princess Vyra stood tall beside her mother's throne, while Elias remained in the diplomatic section, their plan agreed upon in whispered exchanges before dawn. "Honored representatives," Vyra addressed the assembly, "serious allegations have been made regarding treaty tampering. Before judgments are rendered, I invoke royal privilege to present new evidence." Murmurs swept through the chamber as Vyra activated the central display. Security footage appeared, showing Councillor Nyx entering the document room during early morning hours. More damning still were the communications records linking her to a radical faction opposed to any alliance with Earth. "Councillor Nyx," the High Queen's voice resonated with quiet authority. "Approach and account for these actions." The ancient councillor moved forward, her dignity intact despite her exposed treachery. "I acted to protect Lyria from a disadvantageous alliance, and to protect our bloodline from contamination." Her gaze flicked meaningfully between Vyra and Elias. "You acted against the Crown's authority," the Queen corrected. "And against your own empathic training, which should have shown you the sincerity of Ambassador Chen's intentions." "Some matters transcend diplomatic sincerity," Nyx replied unapologetically. "The princess's emotional attachment to this human is irrelevant to your crime," the Queen interrupted. "You are relieved of your council position and confined until formal sentencing." As guards escorted Nyx away, the Queen turned her penetrating gaze toward Elias. Unlike Vera's silver-flecked eyes, the Queen's were pure, luminous silver, eyes that had witnessed centuries of Lyrian history. "Ambassador Chen, approach." Elias moved forward, bowing deeply before the throne. "My daughter has spoken at length regarding your character," the Queen stated. "She believes you represent the best of humanity, honest, compassionate, and dedicated to genuine cooperation between our worlds. I strive to live up to such an assessment, Your Majesty. Yet I wonder if your government shares these qualities." The Queen's question hung in the air like a challenge. "Governments are composed of individuals, Your Majesty. Like individuals, they can learn and grow when shown a better path." The Queen's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Indeed, and sometimes that path requires pioneers willing to bridge different worlds." She rose from her throne. "The treaty will proceed with the original terms, with one addition. Princess Vyra will serve as Lyria's ambassador to Earth for one full cycle to ensure proper implementation." Surprise and joy surged through Elias, carefully contained behind diplomatic composure. Vera's expression remained similarly controlled, though her eyes conveyed everything words could not. The formal signing ceremony proceeded with renewed optimism. As Elias pressed his palm to the final authentication panel, his fingers briefly intertwined with Vera's, a gesture not lost on the observant Queen. Later, as celebration echoed through the Crystal City, Elias and Vera found a quiet moment in a high tower, overlooking both the urban splendor and the wild beauty of Lyria's landscape. "Ambassador to Earth," Elias mused. "An interesting royal assignment." "My mother sees more than most," Vera replied, moving closer until her hand found his. She recognized that some connections transcend planetary boundaries. And diplomatic protocols? Those too. Her smile held promises that diplomatic language could never fully capture. "We have created something unprecedented, Elias. A bridge between worlds built on truth rather than mere advantage. Truth and something more," he added softly. As twilight painted the crystal spires in shades of lavender and gold, their silhouettes merged in an embrace that symbolized the future they had fought to create. One where understanding between different worlds began with the courage to recognize feelings that needed no translation. Above them, the stars of two solar systems twinkled like distant witnesses to a union that would change the course of both their civilizations, not through calculated policy or strategic alliance, but through the simple, profound power of connection across the vast differences that separated them. In the years that followed, the Lyrian-Earth alliance became known throughout the galaxy as the foundation of a new era of interstellar cooperation. But for those who knew its true beginning, it would always be remembered as the story of two beings who dared to trust each other when every force in the universe seemed determined to keep them apart. And in the royal archives of Lyria, the account of how Princess Vyra and Ambassador Chen found harmony between worlds remained a testament to the power of seeing beyond appearances to the truth that lies within.